So, good morning. Sorry to be late. It was a little complicated to find my way, but I managed it. Today I want to present a study that was done with two co-authors. In the end, it was done by one of our master students from Geisenheim University, Mr. Luo, who's a Chinese student, so he had some interest to doing some research on China. And he was also very internationally interested, so he decided to go for his internship and as well as for a study trip to Chile. He stayed for 6 months at the University of Talca and thought about what is a good master thesis topic which kind of connects China with Chile. And as everybody knows, China is to some extent the most interesting market for many wine exporting countries. And Chile, as you just heard, it is a major export country. So we made the decision that he thinks about what are the export strategies, what maybe are some variables that foster or catalyze the success for export-oriented firms in Chile. On the other hand, and as you see, it's not only regarding the large-scale companies we just heard about, Toro or companies as that. We were thinking about rather smaller scale companies, maybe a little bit coming out of their interest from studying in Germany, where we have a lot of small wineries also being active in export. So we made the decision that he should put or lay his focus on small and medium-sized companies. So what was one of the kind of also starting point was that in the last couple of years there were some factors that were kind of bringing down the export activities of many countries to China, like the extravagance policy. There was a little bit of economic downturn in China. So overall, the majority of exports were a little bit down in China. However, on the other side, Chile, or exporters from Chile, were doing very well, and one of the main reasons was that there was a free trade agreement that helped Chilean exporters. However, and I think it's in line with what you have said just before, that the vast majority of exports are being done by larger scale companies. As we heard, I think Toro exporting to 101 countries, as you said. I think also it represents a tremendous amount of exports from Chilean side. However, at the same time, when we studied a little bit about and we got the insights also from the University of Talca and kind of really showing that the SMEs are considered to be important in the Chilean wine export, or in the Chilean wine business, particularly they should be strengthened. So how are they performing? What should be done is kind of the aim of our presentation, or was about what should be analyzed. So first I will be kind of present, or what did we do, We, particularly Mr. Luo did. He did quite a number of empirical interviews. He had the help from the University of Talca, as some of them had to be held in Spanish. Then we had the first round of SMEs questioned via questionnaire. In Chile, we addressed roughly 140 companies. We had a response from roughly 50 companies. And then we also thought, it's the one side, we want to also have a look on the other side, what are kind of important facts from the Chinese importers, what do they want to see from their counterparts, and we also questioned some importers in China. I think we can skip this wine export, we just heard about it. Maybe just to get the kind of the idea in which kind of, we saw on the one hand, and we heard it before, that Chilean exports are increasing worldwide, also to China and to Japan, particularly in China and Japan they're doing very well. And at the same time, when we look for the Chinese consumption, in the last 2 years there was a decrease in consumption, and it was particularly addressing the more expensive wines, and also French wines were quite negatively affected. At the same time, the Chilean overall did quite well. So, due to a little bit of the hurry, you can read the paper on the web page. I think it is uploaded in the or has been uploaded now. Just some main findings. Due to the nature of the small and medium-sized companies, you don't see them engaged in the kind of very low-priced export activities. They're rather kind of medium-priced, higher-priced wines. And there were some of the companies, small and medium-sized companies, that tried to export in the high premium and in the iconic wines. However, what we found out was, and I think it can be very easily explained by the consumption behavior, that particularly wines that offered a very good price quality relation was considered to be very successful and were also perceived kind of as the ones that are winning a bit, and that was kind of the mid and popular premium were kind of the price segment which went very well. For us, a little bit astonishing that also the iconic wines did quite well. So the price level in between popular premium, high premium, and then iconic did not very well, even though it was quite a number of companies aimed to sell in this range, and the iconic ones once again did not too bad. However, the best performance we found in the mid-premium, popular premium segment. For us, and I think this is in line with a lot of other findings, but it was kind of really, for us, interesting that it was from the small and medium-sized companies. You know that in China we have different, what is called tier cities, very large cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, etc., which were kind of the first wave also where a lot of export-oriented companies entered the Chinese market. And these markets, when you look at kind of really like Shanghai, Beijing, this is really a single market, it's a market for themselves, and you find in extreme high competition. On the one hand, you find there a very good infrastructure for import or exporting wines, or there are a lot of importers, they are kind of quite an enhanced storage system, you find there are specialized retailers, you find a good supermarket with a nice range of wines. But the competition is very high. What you can imagine that everybody dreams about going to China. The first idea is always to go to these large cities. And what we know from other research, that particularly large companies which were working on a very sophisticated manner in exporting, they started to look more and more to second-tier cities. Cities that are still large, for European size at least. We talk about here cities with roughly 1 million, 1.5 million inhabitants, quite developed, quite doing nicely in economic terms, but at the same time not kind of as Western in their mindset, not as kind of exposed to Western influence as the first-tier city. So what we saw in other studies that large-scale companies, very professional-led companies, were entering via the second-tier companies, second-tier cities. So we were really astonished that when we were interviewing the small and medium-sized companies in Chile, that they had a kind of an active strategy, at least a part of them, to enter particularly via the second-tier cities. So they also really made their thoughts about how can we enter, where do we kind of skip this competition, where do we find lower competition, how do we find an importer who's kind of catering to the second-tier cities. So it was a very active decision to try to enter the market via second-tier cities. Now, we were kind of astonished about that finding. So I think I stay in time, yes. I try to stay in 10 minutes so that we have at least 1 or 2 questions. So, as I said, you can read the full paper in the internet. So we had kind of 3 main findings, or we came to the conclusion. So as said before, the pricing, particularly in the kind of where you can cater to price-sensitive, knowledgeable consumers, is a very good entry point for small and medium-sized companies, like the mid-premium positioning. We're finding kind of where you got better exports. second-tier cities, as I explained before, and then it was, first of all, it was better to have kind of, even as a small enterprise, being actively in the market so that you kind of really think about having your own kind of at least one sales representative in China was performing better than indirect sales where you're working with agents. And the explanation was, and I think it's, again, it's kind of quite interesting how professional these small and medium-sized companies were. They said, when we were working together with agents helping us to find the way to the market, we only receive half of the information, only the information that is kind of in the benefit of the agents they deliver to us and they share it with us. All the other, maybe for us, very important findings, and also particularly maybe the information that gives us a small competitive advantage or giving us getting us into a better position to negotiate with the agents, we never received. So having people in China, particularly in the second-tier cities, this gives us a really big advantage for our export activities, and that was really driving our exports. And I think overall, and I guess that's maybe what everybody knows, but it's always interesting to find it in empirical studies showing that from the strategic side, from the structural side of the organization, it really doesn't matter whether we talk about a small and medium-sized organization or a large-scale organization. It's very much the same drivers. At the end, it's more the way how it's operating, how the people are working in the firm, how they are dealing with it, and how they come up with innovative solutions in order to deal with this obstacles sometimes or challenges. That is really matters, so it's kind of much on the managerial side more than kind of on the environmental side. So I think that was, again, a very nice finding, and we had our fun with the empirical side and the results. So for us it was a nice study, and I was happy to share it with some of the results with you, and I hope you will have a look on the paper. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you.